Let's see. So, yeah, just make sure you interrupt me, stop me from talking, whatever you got to do while we go through this, because I might have trouble seeing if you wrote a text question, if that makes sense. Okay, I'm gonna actually download this route briefing. So when no, that's not going to work. A couple weeks back, I showed you, it may have been last week even, I showed you guys what the route briefing guides look like. I wonder if I can just copy and paste this into a Word document. So this is our route briefing. And this is the packet we're going to give you for every one of our flights. I mean, we're going to change things on it, of course, but this is basically what it's going to look like. Let me see. Oops. If this, no, that's what I figured. Oh man. Anyways, I'll try to get through this. Gotta open this. Okay, that worked. Yay! Okay, can everybody see what's on my screen? So we've got our route briefing guide, and then we have, this is our dispatch release. It has a little map so we can map out our SIGMETs. And this is what the IFR flight plan looks like. This is where we're going to actually calculate, you know, our each one of our legs. Figure out the distance, the ground speed, how much fuel we're burning, things like that. This is the performance worksheet. So this is where we're going to, we'll type in like our what runway we're going to be using, flaps, things of that nature. This is just kind of lets us see what our minimums are, what way the wind's heading, things of that nature. This is our weight and balance form, and our pin card, and just the index table. You guys have seen this last part before. But anyways, so the first thing that we do, the first thing that I do, is I come over to the briefing guide and I transfer some of the information from the briefing guide over onto this sheet. Let me see if I can. So I do some simple things, today is 3/2/2018. Let's say that the captain is A. Salmon. And you're the dispatcher. Okay. When it asks us, is this an original release? The answer is always going to be yes. Okay, we're not doing an amended release. And so we can leave this next box blank. When it asks us IFR or VFR, we always say IFR. We aren't going to file any VFR flight plans in this class. Okay. So this will be our first flight. We'll just call this flight number 1. Okay. The aircraft. So we're going to come over here to the briefing guide. We're going to see what aircraft we're using. And we're going to type it in here. 730 Sierra Kilo. Okay. You can even put the N in there if it tickles your fancy.
Yeah, I have to make sure I have to put the N number in there. It just bothers me when it's not in there.
Yeah, so the reason why some people don't put the N number in there for everybody here is the N at the beginning is always implied. So if you're in, sorry, we just always imply that there's an N at the beginning of the number because all aircraft start with N. Okay, we look back here at our briefing guide. We've got San Diego to Salt Lake City. So our from here will be San. And our to will be Salt Lake City. Which is about to be under 18 inches of snow. Let's see. Okay.
Is this weekend supposed to be bad weather?
For Salt Lake City?
No, for St. George.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think it is.
It's supposed to be windy, but pretty nice.
Yeah. So yeah, it's going to dip down to like 53 degrees, but that's not nearly as bad as being under an enormous amount of snow. Anyways, so we can leave this next part blank for now because we don't know if it's going to require a takeoff alternate, a first alternate, a second alternate. We don't know what flight level we're going to be flying at. We don't know the route yet. We can't put in our estimated time of departure. Okay, ETD always means estimated time of departure. And we can see there on our briefing guide, we got 2335 Zulu. Is everybody still with me? Okay, good. Okay. So, looking good so far. For this class, we're just always going to plan them at 400 knots. We're not going to get too concerned about actuals or anything like that. So this is just what we're planning at. Our actuals are always a little different from what our plan is, right? So that kind of kicks off this first page. Also, I'll put my MELs down here. So if there's an MEL, I'll write down the MEL number. You know, if it's like a 2311 1A or whatever, I would write it down and then I'd say, you know, this is the APU in op or whatever it is, whatever the MEL might be. That's where we would put what MELs are on board. Since we don't have any for this flight, just give it an NA and remarks NA. Okay. All right. So that kind of kicks off the flight plan packet. I like to get all this, like, I don't know, clerical stuff out of the way so that I can focus on my flight planning. So yeah, pretty simple. First page, we'll just call it done for now. So after we do that, we always start down here at the weight and balance. Our weight and balance is what drives our performance. Our performance is what drives our actual numbers and our flight. Also, if there's an issue as far as you know, well, you know what? Let's look at, before we even do anything, let's look at legal to go. Are we legal to go? How do we determine legal to go?
Our ETA.
Yep. Okay. So our ETD is 2335 Zulu, and we're going from San Diego to Salt Lake City. So we've got to kind of figure out what our route is, what our distance is, and everything, because we don't know what our ETA is, right? So we actually start out with like just an overview. So this is where we're going to use SkyVector. And we're going to just put in our departure, like it says here, is San Diego. So we'll type in San Diego. Our destination is Salt Lake City. And once we have that in, that gives us a distance right there, 544 nautical miles. So that'll give us a rough estimated time en route. Put your speed in here and it'll give you an accurate estimated time en route. Okay. So when we're flight planning, just put in your departure and your destination airports, put in your speed, and then just like hit enter or click down in this box and it'll give you an estimated time en route. Okay.
I got a question about the one of the boxes in there. So I've been using this just to kind of play around a lot, and I don't really see any point in entering the fuel amount because I don't know if that changes the estimated time, the ETE, or I mean, like, what is the fuel box there for?
You can actually like file IFR flight plans with this software, but we're not ever going to worry about that. We're not even going to put an altitude in.
Okay. I was just curious.
Yeah. So yeah, the main boxes that we're going to be worried about when we're using this software is our departure destination, our speed, and then we're going to use this box. I'm going to kind of lay this a little bit bigger. Okay. What this box allows us to do, oh boy, is we can select waypoints. So we're leaving from San Diego, right? Let's say that we wanted to fly over, Parker VOR. We type in PKE, hit enter, and it changes our route. So this is our actual IFR route that we're going to be taking. It's what we plug in there. Does that make sense? So we're just going to do direct for now. And this is just going to give us a rough estimated time en route, okay? So the way we figure out our ETA is we look at our en route time, 1 hour, 45 minutes, and then we add on our taxi out time. For this class, we'll always use 15 minutes. So what's an hour and 45 minutes plus 15 minutes?
2 hours.
Good. Okay, so that being said, our ETA, we can go ahead once we've figured that out in here. Oops. I can just write it down on my paper when it's paper, but on a computer, you got to do other stuff. So I'm just going to put down here, just as a note, ETA. I'm going to add 2 hours to this time. So that'd be what, 25:35? Is that correct?
00:35.
Nope.
Right.
If it were 24:35, it would be 00:35. But since it's 25, it's 01:35, right? So 01:35 Zulu is our ETA. I'm going to put a little note on here to find ETA taxi.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just barely got it. Yeah, 00:35 is only an hour away from 23:35.
Mm-hmm. Taxi out plus en route time. So remember, this is for our class. Don't say this in an interview or anything like that. It'll get me in trouble. Okay, taxi out time. We're just always going to assume in this class that it's 15 minutes. And our ET, we add that together. That gives us our estimated time of arrival. Okay. Now, our estimated time of arrival, this is just like, this isn't an official estimated time of arrival. This is what do we call this? not estimated. This is just like the rough guess, right? So don't go writing this down everywhere that this is our ETA, because our ETA is going to be different than this. We're going to figure out our actual ETA, and that's what we're going to write down on everything. For now, we're just using this to get our flight planning rolling. Okay. Okay, now that we know that our ETA is 0135, we can come down here. This is our San Diego TAF, right? METAR and TAF. So we need to go to our Salt Lake City. Since it's our destination, we need to look at the Salt Lake City METAR and TAF. Is everybody following along?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the TAF. Who wants to tell me if we are legal to go or not?
Could you expand that just a little bit?
Oops. So here's our TAF. 0135 is our ETA.
Yeah, we have unlimited viz.
Yeah, pretty much. So the weather is pretty dang good. Where do we fall? What line do we fall in?
First one.
Yep. Okay, the first line. Do we fall in this at all? Determining our alternate. So we've answered legal to go. Yes, we're legal to dispatch the flight. Are we legal to, or do we have to list an alternate?
No.
No. Okay. Do we go into the second line at all?
No.
No. Okay. So all of our legal to go and alternate is right here in this line.
So where it says 27, 21 / 28, 24 on the first line, just so I know I'm right, is the 20, so that would be the 27th day, the 21st 2100 Zulu, and 28th day at 2400 Zulu?
Yes. So that's our ETA, or I mean, not our ETA. That is our TAF valid time. Okay. That's just saying that this TAF is the forecast from the 27th at 2100 Zulu until the 28th at 2400 Zulu. So this last line here,
Okay.
that last line ends the 28th at 2400 Zulu. So 7 hours from there. That's when
Okay,
that
so
forecast would end.
okay, so when you were determining legal to go, you only look at the, or sorry, you only look at the 27, 20, 49 Zulu part, not the 27,
This part right
21.
here. Right.
Yeah.
So this is saying that this first line, this first forecast is the 27th at 2049 Zulu. That's when this TAF was written, right?
Okay.
So from 2049 until 0359, this first line is your forecast. From 0400 to 1659, this second line is your forecast. And then from 1700 Zulu until 2400 Zulu, this third line is your forecast.
Okay, I just didn't want to get mixed up between those two different numbers. So thanks.
Yeah. So we've determined yes, we're legal to go. No, we do not need an alternate. So let's continue our flight planning, right?
Right.
Okay. One thing that I want you guys to do, like I said before, is I want you to highlight these things so that you don't have to, when you're doing these flight plans, because then you don't have to go searching through everything again. All your pertinent information is always highlighted, right? So think about it this way, guys. In like the first 10 minutes of starting our flight plan, we've already determined whether or not we're legal to go and whether or not we need an alternate. Those are the first things that we always want to figure out with our flight plan. If it's not legal to go, is it worth doing anything else on the flight plan? Is it worth wasting our time?
Nope.
No. So we'll just move on. Like that's when we would notify the day or whoever. That's when you guys would come up and tell me and Adam, hey, this flight's not even legal to dispatch, and then we would, go from there. But we want you guys to find that out in the first 10 minutes every time.
So it's kind of like you just want to solve the tasks the very, very first step. That's your very first step, because that's what'll tell you if you can proceed with filing or with continuing on.
Exactly. So we want to figure out our TAF just like as fast as we can. We want to figure out if we're even legal to go and do we need an alternate. Now, when we get MELs in here, when we start putting MELs in, you're going to have to figure out, is this even legal to dispatch with the MEL? So, like, if we give you an airplane that has, it can't fly in icing conditions, and the entire route is in icing conditions, are we legal to dispatch the flight? No. So you guys would have to say, I'm not legal to dispatch this flight because I have icing conditions my entire route of flight, and I've got a no icing aircraft. So things like that. Or, we can only have one IDG in op. So if there's two IDGs in op, or if the APU and the IDGs in op, then we can't dispatch the flight. Like, we're going to give you problems like that. But for this flight, no MELs. So we immediately want to go down to the TAF, figure out where we fall on this line, and are we legal, and do we need an alternate? Once we've done that, we've just solved the first problem of our flight release or our dispatch release, and so now we can move on with the other information. We don't care so much about the rest of this information until later. Like, we'll get to all this other stuff.
Do you guys just normally like, if the plane is not legal to dispatch, besides continuing on to the next plane, could you do dispatchers just file the plane out for a different time zone for it to be legal?
Well, it just depends. Each situation's going to be different in that case, so we just you have to play it by ear. And really, dispatchers at SkyWest, we don't even determine that. We have what's called a coordinator or system controller. I'm sorry. The system controller is the one that determines, do we need to cancel this flight? Can we swap it for another plane? Things like that. So as a dispatcher, we're not even going to make that call at SkyWest. But here in class, we're going to make that call. So don't worry too much about that. So now that we've determined that we're legal to go and that we can continue with our flight plan, we're going to move on to our weight and balance sheet here, okay? So the first thing that I do is I start by filling out, oops, my bad. Okay. So I just fill out this information really fast because I'm OCD about this. Flight number 1. We don't know our MTO yet. We're going from San Diego, going to Salt Lake City. Don't know our fuel at all. We don't need an alternate, so we're not even going to worry about any of those. Our weather time that we're using, we're just going to put our ETA there. 0135Z. Okay. Captain would sign there. Our employee number. Here's our aircraft number. We'll put it here, 730 Sierra Kilo. Okay. Boom. Now, who remembers the first thing that we do with our weight and balance chart? After we get some of that OCD stuff out.
We figure out how many people and baggage needs to be loaded onto the aircraft.
Okay. Our route briefing guide gives us an amount of passengers. So we've got 51 adults and 7 kids. Good. So we come here. We go 58 adults. Does everybody see where I got these numbers?
Yes.
Top of the other page.
Yeah. Okay. Just want to make sure we're not losing anybody here. Okay. So 58 plus 7, that gives us 65 passengers, right? We don't have any infants. Whoa, that was weird. Don't have any infants. Okay. So how do we figure out our adult weight?
Go ahead.
The winter chart, passenger weight. Go front
Okay.
line 58 and then use that weight.
Oh man, what happened? Oh crap. What happened to all my info? Oh boy.
Uh-oh.
Haha.
It's there.
Yeah,
It's small now.
Just shrunk.
it's all messed up. Oh, I'm so not happy about that.
Well, at least you're not OCD.
Yeah, my head. Oh, there it is. What
There
the?
it is.
Okay. I'm not going to use that for this part. Okay. So we're going to come over here. We're going to figure out our passenger weight, right? So we're going to find 58 passengers. Are we in winter or summer?
Winter.
Still in our winter weights. Good. So we'll come down here to 58 pounds, 58 passengers. Okay. 58 passengers weighs, if you guys can't see it, 11,310 pounds.
Okay.
So where's the kid weights?
The bottom.
Okay. Here's our children weights. So who wants to do the math on that for me? Got 7 kids, and in the winter we fatten them up a little bit, so they're 87 pounds.
Got 609.
Oops. Okay. 609. Everybody agree?
Yes.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's 11,310 plus 609? I'm going to say it's 1919 or 919.
Yes.
I do math real good. Not really. Okay, now where does that weight go?
On your PAX line.
Okay, our PAX line. Here we go. Okay, 11,919. Okay, now let's figure out our bow weight. So to figure out our bow weight, we're going to go down here to this chart. So we're in 730 Sierra Kilo. Where's that at?
Here, the second one, 45298.
So 45298.
Do they normally give you the balance or the sorry, what does BOW stand for again?
Basic operating weight.
Do they normally give you the basic operating weight for every aircraft? Because I'm sure there's going to be a point to where none of these aircrafts are going to be on that paper.
Yeah, that will always be given to you is the bow weight and the index of the aircraft is specific to that aircraft, and so that will always be given to you. Basically, the way we figure out the bow weight and the index for the aircraft is every so many months, the aircraft, like, they take all the fuel off, they take, basically everything out of the aircraft except for what is necessary to operate the aircraft. So, what is that? A crew and um, and yeah, your seats, no fuel, um, but it has your oil in it, like all of that stuff. Um, then they'll pull it onto a scale. They'll weigh the aircraft, okay, and then once they've done that, they'll figure out where your center of gravity is, and that's where they get your index. And for the next however many months that is, that's what it'll be weight. That's what the basic operating weight will be for that aircraft until they do it again. Who's here? Who here is in maintenance records or maintenance documents?
John is in maintenance reliability.
Oh, that's right.
I used to be in that department.
You used to be in that department as well.
Yeah.
So, did you guys ever do the bow weights or anything like that?
We would just record pilot and maintenance write-ups. So I think the bow weights are kind of entered in automatically.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, the bow weights are done by the AMP mechanics. So, but yeah, there's a certain interval that every aircraft has to be reweighed and reconfigured. So, anyways, that information will always be given to you. So, what was the bow weight again? I forgot. 45,298.
So Garrett, you guys at SkyWest always do the weight and balance for all of your flights?
Actually, the pilots do the weight and balance, so we just
okay.
cheer them on
Okay.
and answer their questions if they have any.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so we'll give them a load. So we have a button on there that will, like, as people check into the flight and everything, it'll say this is what the load will be. And it's just a rough estimate of how much weight the aircraft's going to have on it. And then we'll use that number to figure out like our burns and everything. Like the computer does all of that automatically. So this is going to be super labor intensive doing our flight plans like this. But down the road, when you are actually working, the computer does all of it, right? As far as that goes. So, um, yeah, we'll get a basic load, but then the captain, the flight attendant, at least on SkyWest flights. Now, Jordan has said that he's never done this before on the United flights, so I'm sure it's done by either the gate agent or somehow it's done. But on the SkyWest flights, the flight attendant will walk down the aisle and she'll count how many passengers she has in each one of the sections, and she'll actually fill out one of these PIN cards like that. And then she'll give that to the captain. The captain will plug it into his ACARS, and the ACARS will automatically generate, your 400 pounds forward or your NCG, whatever it is. And then he can work with it accordingly.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Really long answer for a simple question, right?
It's okay.
And I keep forgetting what my index is, 71.8. So we'll put our 71.8 in here. Okay. Positive numbers, left side, negative numbers, right side. And remember that if there's one side blanked out, that means that can never happen. So we know that our aircraft weighs this much and this is its index. Now we've got to figure out the index for our passengers. So the way we do that, once again, is we come down here to our PIN card. This is where we start, right? So we have 58 adults. 58 adults, 7 kids, no infants. And we'll just kind of load the plane how we want to. Typically, you get the best results if you start in the back and go forward. With the CRJs, at least. But I'm pretty sure this one, regardless, is going to be good. The kids, do we count kids as anything special on this chart?
Yeah.
We do?
But no.
Well,
No. So the kids and the adults just count as a person, right? So we're counting heads at this point. So so 65, we'll do 12.
oh, okay. I thought you meant like, do we count children as labeling, our numbers into the index cards? I thought that's what you were implying, but
Yeah.
okay.
So that's 12, 24, 36, 48. That's 60. And that gives us our 5. So there we go. Pretty good. Now, our index here. So that gives us our total of 65 passengers, right? Our index, we've got to go to this next chart, correct? So we've put 12 in every single section except for the section F, which has 5. So we come over here to this section. I wish I could change the color of this. Anyways, so we look here, Zone A, 12 passengers. That's our number. Zone B had 12 passengers as well. Zone C had 12 passengers. Zone D had 12 passengers. Zone E had 12 passengers, and Zone F had 5 passengers. So we'll come over here to our 5, and there we go. I need scratch paper. I don't want to have to keep bouncing between this chart and the next one. So
I can call them out for you if you'd like.
you got them written down?
I have it. I have the sheets in front of me.
Oh, sweet. Beautiful. Okay, here we go.
Zone A, negative 19.2. Zone B, negative 13.9. Zone C, negative 8.5. D, negative 3.1. E, 2.8. And 5, 3.4.
Okay. Thank you. So now we add up our columns, right? So our negative side, what is that total?
Negative 44.7.
Okay. And our positive side is 6.2.
Yep.
Okay, we'll move our 6.2 here. And then we'll do our total.
38.5.
So negative 38.5. Correct? Do we all concur, Doctor?
Yes.
Okay, negative 38.5 is our index for our passengers. Anybody have any questions on this card? Negative 38.5. Oh, I'm surprised you didn't say anything, Greg.
I can't. There's until you do your little sizing trick. Who knows?
Sorry, I should probably just, since we're working our weight and balance only right now, I'll maximize this screen. My bad. Everybody see?
Oh yeah, a lot better.
Okay. Good. As soon as I do that, all of a sudden I need to look at this page here. Okay. For cargo, we have 105 bags. So let's find out how we do. Don't like.
Man.
Garbage. Okay. So 105 bags. How do we figure out our bags?
Left chart.
Alrighty. Okay, our left chart, we've got 105 bags, so we'll find 105 bags here. 3150. Okay. So we'll hurry and type that in here. So do you guys want to split it up over these two sections, or are you good just throwing it all in the back?
I would put 1,000 in the forward and then the rest in the aft because you're gonna have more in the aft anyway, and you would balance the center of gravity a little bit better, I would say.
Okay. There's not really a wrong answer to this. But personal preference here, I guess. Now you're not wrong at all. Like I said, this is more personal preference, and I've lost it. Looking at the CRJ aircraft, our center of gravity, let's just say it's in the center of the plane. Our wings are behind the center of gravity, and so our nose is actually a little heavier. So if we throw the cargo in the back, once again, this is personal preference. This is just me. I tend to get better numbers when I load it from the back first and then the front second. So what way does everybody want to do it? It doesn't matter. Let's go with Matt's way. We'll throw 1,000 in the front, and then we'll throw the rest in the back. 21. Oops. So 2150. The important thing is getting the numbers right and making sure you're in CG, right? Doesn't matter where we fall in the chart necessarily. What matters is that we fall inside our chart. And we'll throw 1,000 pounds in the forward cargo. Okay. Now our briefing plan doesn't show any jump seater, so we won't list a jump seater on here. But we do need to figure out what our index is for these two things, right? So how do we find out the index for these?
Just look down below for the forward cargo at a max of 1,000. I think it's the bottom one, if I remember right.
So for the forward cargo, we're going to say a minus 5.4, correct? So that gives us our forward cargo. Now let's look at our aft cargo. Let's get our index for our aft.
Between, I would say 14.3.
Okay. So we got 2150 for our weight in the aft cargo compartment. And that falls right smack dab between those almost. So I would agree. We'll do 14.3, right? It's looking beautiful. Okay. Any questions on how we've gotten this far? Okay. So to figure out our zero fuel weight and index, we just bring down these numbers, right? So what's 71?
86 point. It's 86.1.
All right. 86.1. Okay. And
43.9 minus 43.9.
okay. So we'll bring that one down here.
For minus 42.2. Or excuse me, positive.
Oops. All right. And let's do the weight.
So I believe I have 60,367.
Okay, what's the max zero fuel weight of a CRJ 700?
I got 62,300.
Yep. And if we ever have any questions on that, bada bing, bada boom. All right. So, that being said, we now have our max, or our zero fuel weight and our index. Okay. Now, does anybody remember how we guesstimated our fuel?
4,000 pounds for the first hour, 3,000 for the second hour, I believe.
Okay, yeah. So, good. For every hour after 3,000 pounds, right?
Correct.
So, for the first hour, 4,000 pounds. Every hour after, 3,000 pounds. So, we can get pretty precise at those numbers, right? Okay. So, what was our ETA? So, what was our time estimated?
Can't remember if it was an hour and 54 with that 15 minutes. I don't recall.
So, we can come back up here real quick.
It was 2 hours.
Ah. What in the world? Yeah, we were right on the button with 2 hours. So
7,000.
Yeah.
To be exact. Speaking of 700, we had a CRJ 700 fly to Los Angeles this morning. I always thought that SkyWest only flew the 200s into St. George.
Whatever needs to get here. It just depends. Might have had a plane go down somewhere else, and that was the swap, or there's, reasons.
Yeah.
So Garrett, could this airport handle basically any size aircraft?
Let's take a quick look at St. Jeezy.
It can handle a we've had 737s and MD-80s, but they're all the main airlines they only come into St. George if they're diverting, but I believe so because the runway is capable of holding it. So I think the runway is like 11,000 feet or somewhere close to that. So.
Here we go, 9,300 feet.
What? I don't know how I got that way off.
So, here, so there's some important things to kind of look at here. So if you're over 150,000 pounds on landing, you have to have permission. That could handle a lot. I don't know that it could handle like a C5 Galaxy, might be a little too heavy, but yeah, you can get 737s in on that. You could get some Airbuses in on that. I don't think, because of the runway width, I don't think you could get anything like a A330 or a 747 in there, or even a 777, but you could get 737s in and A319s, 320s. Just kind of curious now as to how that compares to Barrow. I use Barrow as a reference because
Now, how come I've seen at San Francisco International, when I see the A380s and when I see those land, they most of the time use the number 2 and number 3 reverse thrusters and never the 1 or 4 engine reverse thrusters.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know why they do that. I don't know if it's just to put less stress on it, or if they just don't want to suck up the grass if the wings are, or if the engines are kind of overlaying in the grass.
So I don't know. Maybe it could handle something like 747 size. So this is Barrow, Alaska. My buddy lives up here, and he had some C5 Galaxies land up there, Air Force cargo planes, to do scientific research. So I don't know what the runway width is, though. And they probably had to do some special things to accommodate them, but yeah, good question. I think St. George could probably fit most aircraft. I mean, you think about like Salt Lake International. They're like, I think runway 17. Well, we got the charts, I can actually just look this up really fast. I don't need to guesstimate and be a fool. Let's see. Airport info. All right, where are you? There we go, 10-9 chart. 12,000, 9,597. I mean, I see tankers take off on that all all day long, KC-135s. So St. George could probably handle quite a bit. It just requires special permission prior to them landing. It could probably fit pretty much everything.
Cool. I didn't know if that was something, the fact that they're an international airport, if that indicated that they would have to handle a certain, be able to accommodate any aircraft or whatever. But thanks for taking the time. Sorry about that.
No worries. Yeah, it's kind of fun to look at stuff like that. I think it could probably do quite a bit. Most aircraft.
Now, does the upslope and downslope of each runway have an effect on their performance?
Yeah. I think we even look at that just a little bit, if I remember right. I can't remember. But going uphill when you're landing, I mean, it's going to shorten your landing distance because you got gravity helping you out, right? So
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. Let's figure out our index really quick. Once we get done with weight and balance, we'll take a break. So 7,000 pounds of fuel, what does that come to?
I think it's a minus 2.8. I can't quite see.
So 7,000 pounds, 2.8. So move that over to the right box here. We'll bring down our total from here. So 42.2. We'll give it a minus 2.8.
Could you just subtract it from the zero fuel index box, or do you have to transfer that 42.2 down to the other box?
I mean, you don't have to. It just, I don't know. It's probably me.
So it's positive 39.4. To Matt's point, that's how this would-be student pilot got himself in trouble. He didn't use the boxes provided. That was the direct cause of his accident. You start skipping boxes and columns and think your mind's doing the math and carrying. That's where he got into trouble. Misloaded the airplane and killed him and his instructor.
So you're saying it's suggestive to just transfer everything down, even if it doesn't necessarily need to be. It's just better. You just get a better sense of where everything's at.
Yeah, it just eliminates the chance for error when you go through all the checks.
Okay.
It just falls under, is it worth the risk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like a pilot's checklist. It just gets you just filling in all the boxes, even if it's NA or whatever. Just don't leave anything blank, and you just get under pressure or get hurt in a hurry or whatever. It's just really easy to miss something.
Yeah. So here we go. We're going to find out if we're in CG. So, what's the, oh, no cheating. Oh, can't get off the page. Okay, I'm going to do that like this. Okay, what is the max takeoff weight of the CRJ 700? Oh, y'all can't see it. No cheating.
75,000.
Yeah. Boom. 75,000. If you can't remember, it's right chair. Okay. And max landing weight would be 67,000 pounds, like it says right chair. Okay. Once we've done this, we're going to figure out if we're in CG. So we'll go to our weight, 67,000 pounds. And we'll draw a line here. 67. It's going to be somewhere right here.
Now, how come your max landing weight has to be below your max takeoff weight? Is it just something to do with the speed on the approach that puts stress on the airplane, or?
Well, our max landing weight, yeah. So our max landing weight is always going to be less than our max takeoff weight because of the stress that it does on the aircraft. And unless we're a military aircraft, we're not going to be refueling midair, so you can't gain weight when you're in route. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, you're always going to see your max landing weight lower, but it's for structural purpose as well. So we've kind of got a bar there overlying where our so 39.4 is going to be about right chair. We'll follow that all the way up here. All the way up. About right there. Okay, are we in CG?
Yes.
We are.
As long as we're inside the envelope, we're good to fly, except it's more suggested to see if you can put your CG in the middle of the envelope.
Okay. So basically what it says here is when takeoff weight and index or zero fuel weight and index fall in area A, which this falls in area A, verify by visual inspection that all passengers are evenly distributed about each of the passenger zones.
So this is when you take a few out of the front seat and put them in the back?
Yeah. Or we could take the 1,000 pounds of cargo out of here and move it to the aft cargo.
So, Garrett, for what
So,
it's worth, on those 700s, we would always just load the back unless the pilot asked us to put bags in the forward.
yep.
Because you get the belt up there and just start throwing bags. And then we take the weight and balance our sheet up to them, and usually they just load the back unless the pilot asks for it up front.
Yeah. It's good to see why, but well, let's just see what happens when we move that 1,000 pounds back.
When you were showing that picture, it becomes pretty obvious. I mean, almost all of those windows are ahead of the CG on that wing.
Oh.
So the passengers, I don't know about the baggage compartments, but loading all those front seats to 12, it's easy to see how could get nose heavy.
Yeah, for sure. But we're going to see. I know we have to redo some of our maths here, but it's okay. Let's and you know, just so everybody's on the same page here, this would be legal. We could take off in area A, right? It doesn't say that you can't. It just says that we verify that passengers are evenly distributed throughout the cabin, right? It doesn't mean that you can't do it. Just you want to verify. And if it's possible, passengers are really easy to move for the most part, unless they're jerks. You know, but like I was on a flight where I would have happily moved because the guy sitting next to me was just as big as I was, and I had the window seat, so I was like crammed in a suitcase in the corner. I would have been happy to move. So 3150, all in the aft cargo. Let's see what that does to our CG here. 3150. Oh, look at that, 20.9. Okay, so we'll go 20.9. Which changes this number, right? So what's 71.8 plus 20.9? I want to say that's going to be 72.7. Or I mean, nope. See, that's why I don't do these things.
92.7.
92.7. Good Lord. Okay. That'll change this total. So what's 92.7 minus 43.9?
48.8.
It'd be 38.5 because you don't have that negative 5.4 in the forward compartment. It would be negative 38.5, not 43.9, because you don't have that negative 5.4. You don't have that 1,000 pounds in the forward compartment. You don't have that index.
Good catch. I forgot. My bad.
That would have been a bad flight.
Yep. I just killed everybody on board with a simple math error. So what was that again? Negative 38.5? Put that down here. So what's 92.7 minus 38.5?
54.2.
Okay, 54.2. We can bring that down here. Minus 2.8.
51.4.
That makes a big difference, huh? That's like 11 points difference. So we can come back over here. We can come, our weight stays the same, so 67. We'll go, what in the world? So 67,000 pounds, and it's going to be somewhere in right chair. Right chair. 51.4. We'll come up from the bottom here. 51.4. It's going to be somewhere right there. Everybody agree?
Yeah.
So that made a huge difference, huh?
Put less stress on the or so doing that it would put less stress on what do you call it? Like the pressure of takeoff, right? When he's trying to control the yoke.
Yeah, I mean, his trim setting would be different. That's a
But
better way.
that's what I meant to say.
Yeah. So I mean, he's setting the aircraft to no matter what the CG is, it's always going to feel the same to him. Because he'll adjust the trim setting, but anyways, yeah. Yeah, so it's not going to increase the pressure or decrease it. It's just going to, yeah, change that trim setting.
So just as an example, so we were like, I can't remember what we were at. What was it 39.2 or something like that we were at before?
39.4, so we were like right here somewhere.
So the way I was doing it in our homework in the past, I just knew that the change in index was 0.9 for a passenger out of the front row to the back row.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty easy to say, okay, I need 2 points.
Yeah.
You know, that's two passengers, 2.5 passengers, whatever. Makes it pretty fast.
Yep. All right. Everybody comfortable with that? We got a takeoff weight. We've got an index. Oh boy.
Oh, it's kind of cool. My friend got she got promoted to mainline flight attendant instead of regional.
Oh, nice.
It's awesome.
That's way cool. So that gives us our takeoffs. How do we find our landing weight?
You would. Sorry.
Oh, I did something. Okay, we're gonna take a break. I'm actually I'm ready for a break. I'm sure you guys are as well. So let's take a break.
Half hour.
Sounds good.
Yeah, let's get back on 7:40.
Oh.
So we did our weight and balance, right? We just kind of did a quick, really that weight and balance when we get used to it. And by the end of the next 2 weeks of flight planning, you guys will be able to whip out weight and balances in 2 minutes. So we're going to move on. I don't feel like we're going to get through an entire flight plan tonight. But that's okay. We're just going to get some of these the basics down, and we'll just keep building onto it. This isn't going to happen overnight, and we understand that. So the first thing that we do after we've figured out Are we legal to go? We figured out that we're in CG and we're not overweight on anything. So we know that basically we can operate this flight. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do an actual, like, figure out our route. Now, this is where the beauty of SkyVector comes into play. So when we are planning our route, the way that is easiest to plan a route is to start with your SIDS and stars. What are our SIDS and stars?
Are you asking what they are, or what are they to a certain airport?
Like what?
Standard.
Go ahead, Corey.
You're talking about standard. It's the standard instrument departure,
Yep.
and what stars?
Standard terminal arrivals, right? So we've got our SID and our star. So basically what happens is once we've planned our SID and our star, we have we're going to get them pointing in the same direction, and then all we have to do for our en route planning is just kind of connect the two dots, right? We know that we're limited to our SID and star because we have to use a SID and star on our approach into our airport. We know that we have to use a SID when we're departing in our airport. So we have to use the VORs, or the transition points at the ends of those SIDs and stars, in order to get our route. So the first thing we'll do is we'll go pick out a SID. Okay. So we come down here. So our departure procedures here. Remember, in this class, we don't use RNAV departures. This is what an RNAV departure looks like. There's no VOR. There's VORs out here, but it's all GPS waypoints. So we just won't use those in this class for our flight planning. Oh boy, I just closed it down. That's okay though. SkyVector will actually hold on to it. It's kind of like Google Drive for flight planning. Okay, so RNAVs are no bueno. So that leaves us with these ground-based nav departures, which gives us Pebble 6, Falcon 1, and then Border 7. So we're going to find the SID that kind of points us up to the north, Salt Lake City's northeast of San Diego. So we're going to look at...
So Garrett, while you're searching there, so you knew that the rest were ground-based simply because they weren't listed as RNAV?
Yeah, exactly. So, oh my gosh, I did it again. I got to get back into some old habits here. I apologize. So yeah, the RNAV will say RNAV. They'll state RNAV. The other ones we just know are ground-based nav aids because RNAV is GPS. The others are just using ground-based nav aids. So when we look at these charts, can everybody see it?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is where our airport is. And once again, these are our transition points out here, right? So this looks a little different from the Jeppesen charts because, yeah. In fact, do you know what? I think we need to use the Jeppesen charts here. Because I really want you guys to be familiar with Jeppesen. You won't ever use those other ones when you're working for a company. At least I don't know of anybody that uses those. So we're going to look at Jeppesen SIDS and stars. So we just looked at the Border 7 departure. You can see here with Jeppesen charts. Let me see. I kind of hate doing that. Okay. right here you have ARR, that stands for arrival, and then right here you have our departures, DEP. Okay, everybody see that? Everybody following?
Mhm.
Okay, so all the DEPs are our departures. We're departing San Diego, we use a departure, and we just looked at border 7. When we look at border 7 here, once again, going back to what we were talking about yesterday, here's our airport. This is the start of the arrival, but these are our transition points, and we can tell that by the dotted lines out to the transition points, right? So this kind of sends us due east from San Diego, is what we're kind of seeing there. If we look at FLCC, let's take a look at this chart. Okay, so FLCC kind of puts us out to just keeps us on the coastline of California. So we'll look at our Pebble 6. We want to get as close to heading in the right direction as we can, right? So once again, this kind of sends us up the coast. The difference being is that this is a straight out departure. The other one was taking off the other direction, coming back. So, we've looked at all of the ground-based departures, and we're not finding one that necessarily points us in the right direction. We can look at Julian here. We can see where Julian puts us. It kind of starts us out the right direction. But the other one that kind of gets us on the right path would be Seal Beach. So we'll look at Seal Beach and Julian on the map here. So the cool thing about SkyVector is I don't have to go, it's kind of a nightmare going through and like looking for a specific VOR. So if I just type it in here, so Julian, I believe was JLI. Oh, there it is. So JLI, hey, that kind of gets us headed in the right direction, doesn't it? So that being said, if we look at Julian, it gets us kind of in that northeast route, but we don't see any jet routes connecting us to any of these other VORs that continue us out on that. So let's see if we've got a low chart. Oh, look at that. We've got Palm Springs. This is the thermal VOR, TRM. Okay, so we can use either the high chart or the low chart. And we can see if we take Palm Springs, let's see if that's on our high chart as well. Palm Springs will kind of get us in that right direction, right? Okay. So let's just kind of leave Julian in there for now and see where our star here puts us. So we don't want to get too concerned about flight planning because we don't know where our arrival starts. Yeah, so let's figure out our arrival. Look in here, there's our star charts right there. But once again, we're not going to use those charts. We're going to go here to our Jeppesen charts. And you guys have these charts on the Google Drive. San Diego and Salt Lake, both of those JEP charts are on our Google Drive. We can actually just use those. So we'll come into here, our Google Drive, and we'll pull up Salt Lake City. Look at that, there's Salt Lake City. So we're going to come down here. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. Okay, there's our 10-9 charts. Okay, so right here you can see star labeled in the top corner. So we're going to find us a star that puts us in that southwest direction. Okay, this one, here's the airport. It's shooting us up northeast. So we know we don't want to use that one. This one shoots us northwest, right? This one's sending us to the southeast. And this one kind of spits us out down to the southwest, right? So we probably want to take a look at this one. Let's make sure it's not RNAV. So it's not RNAV. I don't see anywhere that it's labeled RNAV. So let's kind of keep our thumb on Jamin there. And then we have the Fairfield 8 that spits us out almost directly west. But if you notice here, we could use technically this Jamin spits us out at MLF and BCE. MLF, BCE. It's just this one continues, this transition is actually Coldell. But we could technically use this this arrival. There's the Sever 2. Severe 2 departure. Oh, this is a departure. Oh, that's why they're the same. Look at that departure in the corner. So you got to be careful when you're reading your charts. Make sure you're on the right chart. So we've got our star here that points us out to the north or to the southwest. Okay, so we're going to look at Milford and we're going to look at Bryce Canyon on Sky Vector here. Oh man, got to get rid of some habits here. So let's look at MLF first. Where does MLF? Okay, so MLF is pretty close, huh? Pretty close to where we'd want to be. Let's get a little more zoomed out. Okay, let's look at Bryce Canyon. BCE. Okay. Milford looks like it's a little more along our route, right? So let's just say that we're going to use Milford. Okay, so we've got our departure and we got our arrival entrance point, okay? What's cool here is now that we know what arrival we're going to be using, right? We're going to be using this, we're going to be using Jamin 4. So this is how we'll put it in Sky Vector, that JMMN4. So if we type in at the end here, JMMN4 and hit enter. Oh, let's see, JAMMN, Jamin. Okay, that just put in our arrival there. Let's see. I just marked Jamin. Why isn't that working? JAMMN4. Well, that's frustrating. I know we used to be able to plug in. We used to be able to plug it in. Let's see. Let's go to our nav log and see what. Nope. Maybe we click here. Maybe they changed it to the Jammin' 5. Those are old charts in your book. Yeah, that's probably why it won't take it. Hey, there it is. Shoot. That's something me and Adam got to figure out. Okay, so we just plugged in our star, and it automatically will plot our star, our arrival into Salt Lake. Okay. So now we've just kind of got to connect the dots. So let's plug in this one as well. So we were using the. Let's see where Seal Beach puts us really quick. Oops. Seal Beach is SLI. SLI. Am I boring you guys? Am I talking to myself? I don't know.
No, I'm following along.
No, not at all.
So yeah, I don't like that at all. So we'll use our original plan here. Let's go back to our chart viewer. And what was the name of the departure we were going to use? Was it the FLCC?
Oh,
Nope.
Julian?
Might have been the Border 7. Yeah. Border 7 departure. Just make sure. So BRDR7. So let's plug that in at the front here. Okay, that gives us our departure procedure. See how it's in brown?
Mm-hmm.
So BRDR7, and then we've got to put in the transition point that we wanted to use, which was Julian, which was JLI. Okay. Why does it only want to use IPL? That's not the route I want to take. Let's see if it's different on here. Looks like IPL is, according to SkyVector, the only transition point. So do you know what? Instead of putting in this departure, you guys can see the waypoints of this departure, right? So our waypoints are going to be POGI, PGY, browse, and then JLI. So we can just do that instead of putting in the actual route. We just know that it's border 7. So if we go from San Diego, goodness sakes, San Diego to PGY to browse, and then to JLI, that's the border 7 departure. Does everybody see that?
Yeah.
So here's San Diego. We take off, we go to PGY, browse, and then up to JLI.
Does it just sometimes do that, Garrett, where you couldn't put in that first part, that departure that you were trying to put in at first, and
Yeah.
it wouldn't take it?
I think I see why it's not doing it, because, and that's what's frustrating about these charts here, is that, as you can see, Mission Bay also is not part of the departure. But you see this arrow here?
Yeah.
So the arrows are all pointing to browse, so except for the one that's coming from Imperial. So I think that's just to identify where this waypoint is. But it's also, in the same breath, it's showing as a transition point. So that's what's frustrating about these charts, is that. Because you look on this chart, if you look on your Jeppesen charts, it's showing that as well. It's showing that arrow there. But it's showing it as a transition point.
Okay.
Yes, and see here where it says BRDR7.JLI, that means it's a transition point. So it is a valid transition point. Okay, so I'm not crazy. I just have to talk myself through some things. Okay, so after we get to BLI, now we've just got to, or JLI, now we've just got to connect the dots, right? So we know that we got to go through Milford VOR, which is way up here. And we know that we got to go through JLI down here. So we can do it one of two ways. We can try to figure out, remember, jet routes get us from point A to point B just a little quicker. They're a little more direct of a route, but they don't always line up with what we want to plan here. Do you see any jet routes that actually line up with what we want to do?
No.
No.
Not until we hit like right here at and that is a cluster from hell. Boulder City VOR. That we could take the J107 right to Milford, but there's not really a direct route of getting to there unless we come up here and then to there and then, yeah. But there's a little more direct of a route, and that is to use the low charts, and we can just kind of jump from VOR to VOR here, right? These are all Victor routes, remember, because we're using low charts. So here's something cool about SkyVector, is I can grab my route here, I can put it over the VOR, and then it's going to pull up this box when I let go. If I click on this plan right here, does everybody see that highlighted next to the thermal VOR? If I click plan, it locks it into that VOR, and it will automatically populate my IFR flight plan. Okay.
Nice.
So I can do that for each one of my waypoints is I can just drag and drop it, 29 Palms VOR, come up here to this waypoint, John 2 waypoint, to Goffs, let's see. You guys see what I'm doing here though, is I'm just kind of dragging and dropping my route to kind of keep it going in the same direction here. Look at that. Get to Mormon Mesa, and it takes me right into Milford VOR. So now if I zoom out here, that's a pretty straight route, all filed on a low route. Okay. If you look at the World High route, the only routes that do that are Q routes, and we can't use the Q routes because they're GPS in this class. So, I mean, one thing that we could technically do here, if we really wanted to, we could just jump over to this VOR and then do a single jet route, but that doesn't really save us any time, and it's not really a logical way of flying for a pilot. Pilots would much rather, just keep it as straight as they can. So there we have a pretty direct route. This is our IFR flight plan. So we could just take this flight plan here and on our chart here, oh boy. So we could, I don't know why it freaking jacks up all of this stuff. It just does not make sense to me.
I think what's happening, Garrett, is when you're sizing that sheet, it's sizing the entire document.
Which is really weird.
So in other words, you size that page, it resizes the other one you sized. So
I wish there was a way to lock it in place. So anyways, what we would do is we'd take this here and we would enter it into this line right here. It's gonna, it did it. It did it. Yes. Okay. Gosh, it was having quite the moment there, wasn't it?
Are we going to be well, I don't know since our day one of you showing us this, but are you planning on having us do these sheets starting tonight or right when we start going?
No, when we start flight planning in class,
Okay.
we'll go through the first couple together and help you through them.
Okay.
And then we'll turn you guys loose. We'll give you a flight plan every day and have you guys do one.
while you're typing that in, I just VOR to VOR the entire en route with a map and a pencil on a straight edge, that's an entire Saturday.
Could be, couldn't it?
Oh man. And
So,
that's just without any other what ifs that you did. So,
yeah, so you will be doing this on a map, but using high charts is a lot better than doing a VFR using a sectional. And because with a high route chart, it's going to look just like this, where it's going to give you your distances between each one of the VORs. So it's going to be nice, being able to use these charts, but you're still going to have to do it on a paper chart. It takes my flight plan took about 4 hours to do. And then, well, no, it took about three and a half, and then we did about 45 minutes going through the oral side of it. So,
Oh, for your practical?
yeah, for the practical.
Wow.
So if you know how to use this chart, I mean, SkyVector just makes it easier because you don't have to look for things. But you're going to get we've gone over these charts a couple times now where it gives you your distance, it gives you the jet route number, gives you what radial it's on, all of that. Like, and you guys are going to see it every day of class from here on out. So you guys are going to be super familiar with these charts. Don't let it overwhelm you right now. We're going to baby step through this, but yeah. So here's something that I'm realizing. So this is our flight plan, right? The only time that we list on our IFR flight plan here, like the only time we list a waypoint on our route is when there's a change of direction or a change. Oops. No. There. Or when we change jetway, okay? Or jet route or Victor route. So if we look here, TRM, TNP, there's TRM, TNP. Down here, 514. So here's TNP. Here's TRM. Okay. Look at TRM. It's Victor 514. And look at 29 Palms. That's Victor 514 as well. And there's no major change in direction, major change in heading. So we can basically what I'm saying is we can eliminate
it's the same Victor route is what you're saying, right? So it's not a name change, so you don't have to list it.
Let's see if that works. What does that do? Okay. So, I don't like that. You know what? There is a heading change at the VOR. It stays on the same Victor route, but the heading change is making me want to put it in here. So we're just going to leave it in there because it's cleaner. We're basically putting down the places where the pilots are going to make a change in their heading, or yeah. Does that make sense?
No.
So V514. John 2 dot V538 dot GFS dot Victor 8 That means, and this is the problem about using a low chart, is you tend to have a lot more waypoints.
So your Jot new and you got John 2 on the other, on your dispatch release. Just saying.
What was that?
You have on your Sky Vector after you
Oh.
have Jot, just a little, yeah. There you go.
I see. I don't know why I keep saying John 2. It's Jot new.
Hooked on Pahonics.
Yeah. So KSLC. Oh, we got to put a KSAN right here. So this this part right here. This was the border 7. No, BRDR 7. Right? That was the departure we used. Come on. So anyways, that's what it would look like. Oops. So one thing that I'm seeing here that I goofed on was, I'm going to zoom in here. Okay, when we're writing down an IFR flight plan, you see the periods in between each spot. If there's a single period, that means that the single period, you're going from this point to this point using a route or a Victor route. If there's a double period, that means it's direct. So you're going from TRM to John 2 and there's no route connecting the two. So just make sure that you're writing it down right. Just kind of like give it a look over.
No eating donuts while you're playing with the charts.
Yeah, exactly. So dot. Anyways, okay. So that's what our flight plan comes out to be. Do you guys notice anything that it changed when we did that?
Our time is
Yeah.
10 minutes shorter.
So it's 5 minutes longer than what we had planned for our en route time.
So we already put we
Oh.
already planned for an extra 15 minutes, so we would be good, right?
No. So what? Here we go. Here.
Oh, that's just taxi out. Oh, okay.
So what does our fuel consist of? What's required for us to carry on our flight?
7,000.
No. Not thinking poundage. I'm thinking the FAR. What FAR?
R.
Need the taxi.
What? Yeah. I heard somebody say bar.
R, yeah.
So burn alternate reserve, right? So BAR. Burn off alternate reserve. Okay. I did something really wrong on the weight and balance, and that's why we're here. And then at SkyWest, we add our hold to that, right? So bar H. Okay, so this part's the FAR, this part's SkyWest Pacific. But the FAR says that we have to have burn, alternate, reserve. Our taxi out, we're not planning on having taxi out fuel in our burn off, so we don't worry about the 15 minutes. We don't. So we have 1 hour and 50 minutes of of burn off. Okay. We don't add our taxi time to that when we're figuring out our weight and balance.
So just for the ETA then on the 15.
Yeah, that's just to find our ETA. As far as our burn off, we're going to look at an hour and 50 minutes. And do we have an alternate?
No.
Okay. So we'll say A equals 0. Okay. Do we have reserve fuel? I'm just going to answer that question because we haven't really talked about this. Every one of our flights will always have 45 minutes of reserve fuel.
Yeah, I was just about to say it should have reserve fuel because what if an emergency happens?
Yeah, so we always put reserve fuel on our aircraft. So 45 minutes of reserve, and then hold fuel. H equal. We're not going to put any hold fuel on this flight. So we have a burn off and reserve. This is how much fuel we're going to use to calculate our fuel on our weight and balance. So to calculate our weight and balance, we're going to look at this. So that being said, we have, let's see. Hey, Adam's on here now. So yeah, when we're looking at our fuel, we'll go back over to this page. Okay. We're going to throw down in this page, right there. Okay. This is our simplified flight planning. So we've got our route now. We've got a burn time, right? We looked at SkyVector. SkyVector gives us an hour and 50 minutes. And we got our reserve time. So let's take a quick look at our airport here, our 2 airports, and let's fill out this page for our performance. Let's see. Let me pull up our good old charts here. I'll tell you what, guys, not making excuses for some of my stumbling around here, but it's a lot easier when you're doing it yourself than it is trying to explain it all. Just saying. Okay, San Diego. We're going to look at our runways here. We'll just look at the 10-9 chart. So our 10-9 chart shows us oh boy. Anyways, San Diego has runway 9, runway 27. It's one piece of pavement. And we're going to take off runway 27. Actually, let's look at our METAR really quick. Just for kicks and giggles. Okay, San Diego. Our winds are 310 at 9. So that being said, what runway are we favoring here? Runway 27 or 9? Runway 9.
Wasn't it 27?
Yeah.
Well, they're from 27, so you'd want 9, so you take off into the wind, right?
No, runway 27. The wind's coming from 310. Right? So here's our METAR. Our winds are coming from 310, so I'm going to draw this out. Runway 9, runway 27. That means it's due east and west, right? So runway 9 would be this side. And this would be runway 27. And our wind is coming from 310. So what runway are we are the winds favoring?
27.
Yep. So that being said, so does everybody understand that? The runway 9, runway 27? So basically what happens is, like, when I'm looking at this, like, what's closer to 310, 27 or 90? So 270 or 90, and that'll give you your answer. You're only 40 degrees off on 270, whereas 90 you're like 100 and something. Anyways, it's more. I'm not going to do the math right now. So Origin Airport, let's fill this out. Flight number
1.
Yep. Flight number 1. Okay. The date 3/2/18. We're going from Ksan to K-Slick. Our captain, the fearless and ever vigilant Adam Salmon. This is prepared by Garrett. Okay, Origin Airport, K-San. Okay, we're going to use runway 27. And in this class, we're always going to plan flaps 8. I'm trying to remember. Can't remember the
grade symbol. I don't know how to do that on my computer either.
15. Jefferson chart. We'll trash that stuff. Okay. Oh, here we go. I got it. So, option shift 8. You little. Haha. You got to use the one up top. Yay! There's much rejoicing. Yay! Okay, outside air temperature. Let's look at our route briefing again. And where's our outside air temperature on the METAR?
It would be 24 degrees Celsius.
Okay, 24 degrees Celsius. Boom. Okay. For this, we'll just say, we're not going to figure that out for this one. Okay, 75,000 pounds. Okay.
What does MRTW stand for?
Maximum runway takeoff weight.
Okay.
So this is where the runway would limit our takeoff weight. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, we don't have a takeoff alternate. We don't have we don't have an alternate, so we go here to our destination. Okay, does anybody know off the top of their head, since we're on a time crunch, what the runways are in Salt Lake?
Isn't there a 3.6?
Close, 3-4.
3.4.
Yep. Let's take a quick look at our. Let's just see what our winds are going to be doing. What did we say our ETA was? Oh boy, they're gone. I believe it was 135, correct? Yeah, 135. So 135, our winds are expected to be coming from 330 at 10 knots. So that means that we've got the 16s and the 34s, or the 17 and 35. So 3-4 left and right are typically what's used in Salt Lake. So let's just say that we're using 3-4 left. Our winds favor 3-4 left, 3-4, and we always land in the CRJ flaps 45. Who remembers the flap settings for the CRJ 700?
8 and 20.
8 and 20 for takeoff. What's the other ones?
45 for landing.
Yep, and then there's one more flap setting that's an intermediate.
Forgot.
I'll give you $1 if you figure it out.
60.
Nope.
It wouldn't be, well, it's not 30, is it?
Yeah.
It is 30?
Yeah, so it's our intermediate between 20 and 45. So, yeah. Yep. Okay, outside air temperature. So it's going to be evening time. So we're just going to like take the temperature here and we're just going to take a couple off because it tends to get cooler in the evening time. So we'll just say that, you know, it's going to be, we'll just take 2 off right here. It's a short flight. It's going to be 18 degrees outside when we land, and 6,700 or 67,000 pounds will be our max runway landing weight. So those numbers, there's an actual chart you can use to find those numbers. Adam, are you around? I'll let Adam decide if we're ever going to use that chart. If we're going to completely melt your brains. Okay, here we go. Here's where we do a little bit of our flight or our fuel planning, okay? So our burn to destination. So we've got our pounds, and this is our time, the time conversion for the pounds that we're burning, okay? So if we're looking here, we're trying to figure out how many pounds we're going to burn to the destination. We've got an hour and 50 minutes en route, okay? We don't have an alternate. We don't have contingency, but oh wait, yeah, we do. We have 45 minutes contingency. Sorry, my brain is melting as well. Okay, 45 minutes contingency fuel here. So the total time that we have, oh, there it is. There's our reserve. Sorry. We'll get there, people. I promise. Okay, so we've got our hour and 50 and our 45 minutes. What's the total pounds here? Or I mean total minutes.
60, 120, 110.
2 hours, 5 minutes. Okay.
Oh, never mind.
So 2 hours and 35 minutes is an hour and 50 minutes plus 45 minutes, right? So when we look at 2 hours and 35 minutes, our burn to the destination is going to be what? How are we going to figure out our burn, right? We remember 4,000 pounds for the first hour.
3,000.
And then, yeah, 3,000 pounds every hour after. Okay. That being said, we have 1 hour and 50 minutes, right? So let's pull up our handy dandy calculator here. And so we know that we have 4,000 pounds for our first hour. So to figure out the 50 minutes that's left, we're going to take this 30 pounds here. Everybody, or 3,000 pounds here. We're going to take 3,000 pounds and we're going to divide that into minutes. How many pounds per minute are we going to be burning? So divide by 60, 50 pounds per minute. Now we just multiply that by our minutes. That's 2,500 pounds.
Every hour.
No.
Or
3,000 pounds every hour after our first hour, right? This is 2,500 pounds for the 50 minutes remaining. So we take that 2,500 pounds and we add it to our 4,000 pounds. That gives us 6,500 pounds. Oops.
Garrett, I just have a quick question. So we have the burn time, we don't have an alternate. We have the reserve of the 45 minutes or the 2,500 pounds. So do we put a hold time somewhere for the SkyWest? Somewhere on or no?
No. So if we're gonna do hold fuel, we're doing our flight planning in this class. We're just gonna put it under our contingency.
Okay.
So burn to the destination, and then our reserves already calculated for us, right? And we figured that out. I showed you how that's done. They just took the 3,000 pounds, divided it by our 60 minutes, and then, and then we multiplied that by 50. That gives us 25, which is 45 minutes. 2,500 pounds equals 45 minutes. And then we just carry that over to this section here. So 2,500 pounds plus 6,500 pounds. Oh my gosh. 9,000 pounds. I didn't. Okay. Beautiful. So 2 hours and 35 minutes equals 9,000 pounds of fuel. Okay. Now, this is what we're going to calculate our weight and balance with, right? Taxi is just extra. Taxi. This gives us our ramp fuel here, 92.50. We're just always going to put 250 pounds on for taxi. But
Garrett, can I back you up just a minute?
Mhm.
So on the reserve, you're calculating reserve burn at 3,000?
yeah,
So I'm getting 2250. Or I'm not following. Maybe I blinked or something.
okay.
Because I got 45 60ths times 3,000.
Okay, so there we go. Okay, we're going to go off of our 3,000 pounds for every hour after. So 3,000 pounds, we'll divide that by 60 minutes, and that gives us 50 pounds per minute, right? 50 pounds times 45 minutes. Oh, you're right. So let's see if it's the 4,000 pounds. Oops. Nope.
Because
Oh,
I was keying off the previous 1 hour 50 minutes, so the 50 minutes gave us 2,500. So I knew it couldn't be
yeah.
25 for the reserve as well.
So good point. I just remembered what the difference is. So the big difference between the 4,000 and 3,000 is the fact that this is just a rough estimate. So when we're calculating this number, that's just to get us in the ballpark. This 2,500 pounds for 45 minutes is so kind of like how we calculate passenger weights. They just took an average of crews over a certain amount of time and came up that 45 minutes of reserve fuel equals 2,500 pounds. So it's something that's already preset into our flight planning here. It's just one of those absolute numbers.
Kind of like they round the number for RVR versus actual miles. So
yeah, so since it's already in here as 2,500 pounds and 45 minutes is always added, we just use that number for it. Just like taxi. I mean, taxi's 15 minutes, right? Or we just kind of say taxi out fuel is 15 minutes. But if we take that 50 and we multiply that by 15, we actually get 750 pounds. But that's for cruise. You know, this is including like an average for climb and descent and all those factors in. So
Composite number. Got it. 2,500.
yep. So that's why that's there. So now we've figured out our fuel. So now we can go back and we can add that 2,000 pounds onto our. Oh my gosh. What happened? That was really weird. I don't know what's going on now. Aha. There it is. Okay. So let's change this to 9,000 pounds really quick. And we'll change this number to that 2.6. So it doesn't change us that much, but every little bit, you know, helps or hinders.
So you're saving this goodness for us, right? This example?
Yeah, so this is all recorded, and I'll put it on your drive. So you
Yeah,
guys
don't close out of this and lose all this fun.
I'll just make you guys do it. No, it's it'll be there for you guys for sure. So 54.2, 2.6. Oh, I gotta change this number here. I don't feel like doing math right now. 54.2 minus 2.6, 51.6. Okay, so that moves our X here. This mouse is just too large for me to grab that X anymore. So that moves the thing up to this line and somewhere right here. So it didn't move it much, did it? We're pretty close. Okay, and that's just because of that 45 minutes of reserve. That's what changed our mind there and taking the taxi fuel out. Okay, so we got you up to here. We've planned our route here in SkyVector, right? You guys saw how to plan that route. Okay, this is when we start figuring some of this stuff out. So with this is just an estimate. Okay, now we're going to go in and we're going to find our simplified, we're going to do what's called the simplified flight plan. Okay. Let's see. So this is where we're going to start pulling up these charts here. No, not these ones. Here we go. Okay. So we're going to figure out what altitude we are capable of doing, and then we're going to figure out what our simplified burn is for that altitude. and for the weight of the aircraft. So to do that, we're going to first look at our distance here. Okay. Our distance is 571 miles, nautical miles. Okay. Oops. So that being said, we're going to find what altitude we want to fly at. We are going to use alternate. If I can find the dang chart. Altitude capability. Okay, so we'll use the altitude capability chart. Kind of intuitive, right? One thing that we've got to figure out, first of all, is our average heading and our average deviation from ISA. Let's see if this even has the, where's my winds aloft? Adam, do you know where the winds aloft is for this? I mean,
The winds aloft have to be, let's see, is this one you pulled off of the drive?
yeah. So this is the first one that we did as a class last.
Okay, then they're going to be, go back and look in the folder then, because all of the ones, they're not in this package.
Oh, okay.
They're a separate file. Right there.
Okay. Just 1 second. So I'm trying to remember something here. Oh boy. I need to pull up multiple Google Drives here. Nope, wrong one. Here, let's take a quick 5-minute break. That way you guys don't have to see me scroll through pages and pages of stuff.
We actually enjoy it, I think.
Hey, so just so I'm caught, or just so I can, so to figure out our, I wrote it down, but I just want to make sure I wrote it down correctly. To figure out our amount of fuel that we need, depending on what, the time. So it's always going to be 4,000 for the first hour plus 3,000 for every other hour after that. And so if our route was 2 hours 35 minutes, you'd take 3,000 divided by the minutes. You get 50. So you take that and you times it by 35. And then you get like 1750, and then you would just add the 3,000 and 4,000. And you get like 8750.
I lost you there. So
Like you couldn't hear me, or?
no, I got lost in what you were saying there. I was trying to figure it out. So you're saying
So like, so I know that it's always going to be 4,000 for the first hour. And so say that our route was 2 hours 35 minutes. So, so I know that to figure out our 35 minutes, you would always take the second hour. So you would take 3,000 and divide it by 60 minutes. So you'd get 50.
Mhm.
And then you would take your 50 and you would times it by the 35. And you'd get 1750. And that's what our third hour equals. So you would just add 7,000 to that, and it's 8750. So that's 2 hours and 35 minutes worth of fuel. Did it do it correctly?
Yep, that's your estimated fuel.
So that's just for our. That's not considering our
That's
45 minutes of reserve.
no. Our 45
Okay, so
minutes of reserve would be in addition to that.
Okay. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I was doing it correctly.
So yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so you're basically just trying to get your altitude.
Yeah, so we're looking at our optimum cruise altitude here. So we have to figure out our cruise altitude to figure out our simplified flight plan.
Uh-huh.
And so we're going to first take a look at our ISA deviation, our average heading, our average winds, and our average ISA deviation to get our altitude selection, correct?
Yeah, but the first thing that you want to know though here is basically your, like, you want to get like an initial performance altitude basically, even before you jump into any of that. Like, you don't have to worry so much about like the winds per se, but you want to know what you're going to need for it is just get your deviation from ISA at the takeoff point, and get your takeoff weight, and that'll tell you your climb performance, and that'll tell you your max altitude capability.
Okay, that's where I was losing my marbles there. Okay.
Yeah.
So so let's take a look at this, guys. Let's look at the altitude of San Diego. Okay. We know that it's pretty much sea level, right? Yes.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So we know that the runway, let's take a quick look. So yeah, 16 feet above the runway, or above sea level. So we're just going to call it sea level when we figure out our ISA deviation here. So what is our ISA deviation at sea level? Or I mean, what is ISA at sea level?
15 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, so 15 degrees Celsius. Okay, what is the current temperature in San Diego?
24 degrees Celsius.
Okay, so what is the deviation from ISA?
So you're getting warmer, so it's positive ISA.
Okay, positive what?
9. Yeah.
So 9, we'll round it up to 10 because that's what our charts use. We go 5, 10, 20 on our ISA deviation. So
You go 5, 10, 20, you don't do 15?
I'm pretty sure we don't have a 15 chart. Let's take a quick look here. So there's ISA plus 5, ISA plus 10.
It'll go all the way to 20.
Oh, there's 15. Yeah, so there's a 15 chart there. So
yeah, you should have 20 even.
Yeah. And it'll go to negative 10 as well. So ISA negative 10, and then it goes to ISA, then it goes to ISA plus 5, then ISA plus 10, ISA plus 15, and ISA plus 20. So right now we're ISA plus 10 at San Diego. And that, okay, so we're ISA plus 10. Our takeoff weight, do you guys remember our takeoff weight?
69,367.
So we'll just call that a good old 69,300. And we'll use our trusty red pen here. So 69 is going to be right there. Let's call 69 3,000. We'll take that up here. And we'll take that all the way up to our ISA deviation here. So this is the altitude selection chart. Okay. once we hit this line here, we take this line and we follow that parallel to right here. That means that we're capable of flying just a hair over 39,000 feet. Okay. Now, what direction are we heading? What direction is this? Coming from San Diego up to Salt Lake.
Oh, northeast.
Yes. So we're heading more of an easterly direction. So, do you guys remember how to figure out if we're flying even or odd altitudes? What my little acronym is?
East is least, right?
No, that's looking for magnetic variation. You guys remember the acronym I gave you? NEOD Sweven.
Oh,
Oh yeah, Neon Sweven. So northeast, south,
Northeast.
north, southwest, even.
Southwest even. It's just a really funky word, right? Just make that into one word. So that means that from 180 going west all the way up to 359, we plan at even altitudes. Okay, from 360 all the way down to 179, we plan at odd altitudes. So what direction are we headed? Northeaster. It's a northeast direction. We're going to plan at odd altitudes. Okay, so 39,000 feet. We're good to cruise at 39,000 feet according to our simplified altitude selection. And so, and we're flying odd altitude, so we'll plan at 39,000 feet. Woo! There we go. Kick off that rest. Okay. That being said, we're like out of time. I want to give Adam plenty of time to go over and answer your questions for the next 3 weeks.
So how are you guys, how's everybody kind of feeling with where they are currently at as far as everything up to this point?
Struggling with the weather a little bit more than I thought I would.
Okay, like reading it, what?
So I'm starting to get, like what each cloud is. I still got to study up on that because there's a whole bunch I need to know. But what I'm getting confused on is, or it's hard to memorize the abbreviations for certain like weather indicators. Like sometimes these symbols, for example, is like TY, and that means, just putting a random out there, that TY means drizzle, or even though I know drizzle means something else, but do you know what I mean? Like there's certain acronyms, or there's certain letters that don't make sense to the actual word. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. And so what do you think the best way is to get all that stuff down and be more comfortable with that?
Well, what I would probably do is kind of like say say something that starts with T and Y that relates to drizzle or something like that.
Well, I mean, honestly, Matt, even before you even say anything and start going and doing that stuff, honestly, the big thing is just seeing it and seeing repetition of weather. All of this stuff that you're seeing, once you start seeing it enough, you're going to know what it is.
Okay.
And so it's not. I wouldn't worry about making up any, acronyms or anything like that or whatever, because you're not going to need any of that. This is just simply, a lot of this stuff is just the repetition of seeing it over and over and over. And honestly, as far as that stuff goes, the next couple of weeks, that is what you're going to be doing. You're going to be seeing it over and over and over. So
Okay.
the only thing that I would maybe say is, if you had like a list of acronyms, like, like of weather stuff that has, like a list that has all of the abbreviations on it, maybe study that and just start, getting into that word recognition, of seeing, drizzle and any of those that you see for just specifically for the weather. So, but I wouldn't worry too much about that, because you're going to still be seeing a ton more of that as we, especially the manual flight planning stuff. So what about anything else? Anybody else have something?
I feel like I go really back and forth. Like there's some days where I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got this and I'm feeling really good about it, and like I've never missed a class and I make sure I study and my quizzes are good, and then like the very next day I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't remember anything. I don't know what direction I'm facing. So I don't know. I go really, really back and forth between like I'm totally doing this and I'm not capable of doing any of this. So I don't know. I guess it just depends on the day.
So,
Yeah.
Like Adam said, we're going to be up to now. You haven't been able to. It's all been theory. I mean, we've done a little practice here and there with weather and different things, but it's all been theory up to now. As we flight plan and as you guys start applying it, you start seeing the reason why we teach you the theory, and then we teach you the practical application of that theory, and everything just falls into place. It is overwhelming right now. You guys are drinking from a fire hose, but as we go into our practical part of actually flight planning and applying these principles, you guys are going to start seeing crystal clear everything. And it comes quick. It comes really quick once we start flight planning.
That's
And
good.
one thing too is, even the first couple of days of flight planning, you guys are going to feel even more confused. So,
All right, yeah.
just
You're breaking up a lot.
right now. Yeah. Until the flight planning starts clicking. Once the flight planning starts clicking, everything else falls into place. So, and then once you actually see the flight planning, you're going to know that it's also going to give you a really good idea, out of all this stuff that you've learned the past 6 weeks, what parts of it you need to know, if that makes sense. Once you, and this, that's it, this is what ties it all together here at the end. So you're gonna, I know a lot of times we've said this is something we need to focus more on, and this isn't. There's been a ton of stuff we've had to cover simply by regulation, of having to cover it, and then there's a lot of stuff that we actually need to know.
Right.
So.
You're cutting in and out.
Adam, you there? You're cutting in and out really bad. It's getting pretty. There you go.
Okay, it's back on now.
Now I hear frantic clicking. Oh, damn.
Yeah, so anyway, yeah. So don't worry too much about that. Details, questions about how I guess the next 3 weeks are going to be. Just to quickly go over and see if this answers kind of what you guys might have question-wise. So this next week, obviously, we don't have anything class-wise. So so take that time, take this next week that you have off and use it to go back and review any of the class videos. I mean, use it really to your advantage to catch up on the that you feel like you're behind in. And, watch videos, go over stuff, what it be, weather stuff, systems, anything that you need to. And obviously feel free to use sources, throughout the week. Any questions, call us, text us, email us, whatever you need to do. As far as when class resumes on the 12th, the hours are going to be the same, 5:30 to 9:30. And it'll be at the St. George Academy. I'll send out an email to everybody, giving the address for those of you that don't know where it's at. And anyway, everything will be there in person, and those classes will also be recorded as well. So they'll be on there for. And anyway, but the schedule will all still work the same. As far as those 2 weeks, though, we also will try to organize some stuff, that are maybe even outside of the class hours for those that can arrange it in their own schedules. If you want to have like any side like study groups or things like that. We've had classes, like where we meet at the library, and whether it be in the morning or whatever time. Like I won't be there for all of the days, but I will be there for most. And so when I'm there in St. George, I pretty much will have all day, every single day available. So, yeah, use me as a resource, and I'm more than happy to have, some side study sessions, anything like that you guys want to do that you have time for as well. Also wanted to try to organize, maybe like an airport tour type stuff. If you guys are interested, that is. There's a lot of different things. I wanted to try and set up some potential dispatch shadowing over at SkyWest, one or both of those weeks, if anybody's interested in that. But if you guys are, I'll need to get the ball rolling to kind of start getting it set up. So, just that stuff that's obviously outside of class. So do you guys have any comments or interest in any of those things?
I'd definitely be wanting to go shadowing.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I would want to shadow and do a tour as well.
Okay. Yeah.
So also during those 2 weeks, my days off are going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I will be able to meet up with study groups as well if you guys are down. It's going to be a party.
The other big thing. Oh, go ahead.
What time is class during those 2 weeks?
5:30 to 9:30.
Oh, okay, great.
That's the official. There's no change to the hours. It's just that it's in person. That's the only difference. But we will have, additional, study group opportunities, and like I say, airport tour stuff. Go shadow dispatchers at SkyWest. But a lot of that stuff I kind of have to start putting in motion now to get it set up. so that they know to expect us and how many of you actually want to do that so that we can get it all organized.
What hours would we be shadowing? Just anytime or?
Yeah, because I mean it's whatever hours you can do. You just need to let me know when you can do it because Skype 24/7. So we can usually arrange that for any time.
All right. Yeah, because I work 7 to 4 every day. Well, Monday through Friday, so I'm free after 4 and on weekends. So.
Okay. Yeah.
I work
We
weekends.
can definitely.
Hey, I'll go hang out with Garrett.
So anyway, that's that. So be thinking of that, and like I said, I'm gonna send you guys an email as with the address and stuff to the St. George Academy. The other thing is, as far as your ADX tests, I know most of you guys are local, live local in St. George, so just you're going to want to start thinking about the ADX, those that haven't passed it yet, and kind of start establishing a timeline as to when you're going to be able to, either study for it or get it finished up. So just start be thinking about that because, like in your case, Marisa, you're coming in on your stuff. Obviously, with traveling back and forth. In your case, we're going to definitely need to try to get.
Oh, Adam, I'm taking my test on Friday. So Dave.
Side.
But I'm gonna take my test.
Okay, the date. Sorry, can you repeat?
Yeah, I'm gonna take my ADX test on Friday the 9th, and keeping my fingers crossed that I'm gonna pass it, so I don't gotta worry about taking it again while I'm in Utah.
Okay, yeah, that's great. Yeah, that is great. So, if you need any help or resources there, let me know. Yeah, because if you have that done, then all we got to worry about is the practical, and we can just set that up for the day or day after class ends. So.
Okay, sounds good.
And
anybody else that lives locally, we obviously want to try and get everybody done as quick as possible. So just start kind of this thinking in your own heads if you're not very far in your ADX studies, or if you haven't gotten, or if you're ready to start taking the test or whatever. I know everybody's going to be at a different point, so we just need to start getting those things in motion. So
as far as SkyWest hiring, I know we talked about that a little bit. The application is open, so if you intend to apply for this go around, the application's open, and I'm guessing they will start calling for interviews. They close the applications on the 8th. I'm guessing you're going to get a call probably somewhere around the week of the 19th to the 23rd. So that's the last week of class. And then they'll probably bring you in for interviews, probably the week of the 2nd to the 6th. And then you would get a call back probably the following week or the week after, and class would start the 30th. If you get hired. So, yeah.
Open up.
What's that class schedule like?
That class schedule is Monday through Friday from, I want to say that's 8 to 5.
Ground school is?
Yeah,
8 to 5?
Your ground school would be 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, and then your on the floor training is just according to your trainer's schedule. So you could have any shift.
Yeah, I wouldn't be worried. Don't worry too much about the schedule for SkyWest stuff right now. That's
Yeah.
way beyond where we need to be even right now. So Garrett, when did this current one open? Do you know?
Yeah, it opened up. When was it, John? Was it the 27th or 28th? Or no, it was the 26th.
Just barely.
26th or 27th.
Yeah, it was just a couple
Okay.
days ago.
Okay, so this is pretty common too, like with how SkyWest does their posting. So a lot, in the last couple classes that we've ran, you kind of have to apply before you actually have your your licenses and things in hand. However, just to kind of get into the system, but then it sounds like the following week, you end up getting your license basically in between applying and interviewing, essentially. So anyway, but we can kind of talk more about that. But anybody, the big thing here is with using on anybody here thinks that they're going to be able to be like wrapped up, ADX done and practical tests done, by, I would say within, at the latest, the week after class ends, should go ahead and apply to, before the 9th and get your application in. So if you know that you're going to be a couple more weeks in finishing up the ADX or any other portion of the class, then yeah, you probably would not want to put in your application in this current one. So just to kind of give you, I guess, some direction on where you currently stand.
How soon do they open the position again?
They usually do it once per quarter.
So there's some news on that. Once per quarter has kind of been the standard. They're trying to get a lot of people on board right now. So they may just roll it one class right after the other. It just depends. They're going to see where they stand with this next class, and then they'll make a judgment call on when they want to hire and how many they want to hire at that point. So it could be as soon as 3 months after. It could be, it could be as soon as like 2 months after. It could be pushed out to 3 months after this next one.
Garrett, remember you were saying that instead of you signing people's dispatch, you were saying something about signing our ADX exams online or something like that.
Oh yeah, we talked. Adam can talk a little bit about that, the FTN numbers and doing that.
Yeah, so that part of it we don't actually need to even worry about until you pass your ADX.
Oh, you don't. It's not for prior to, like, if you've taken the ADX
or ADX pass. So yeah, well, it doesn't. Sorry, my audio keeps dropping off here. So if you have your ADX done, then you need to send me a picture of like your ADX test score, because it has like a test ID number on it that we need. So I know Yvonne already have yours. Anybody else that has that needs to send a picture of it or something, email it or send a picture message or whatever. But we need that. And then we'll instruct you. Once we're physically in person in class, we will show everybody the electronic system that is used to do all the application. That part of it's just for the license though. Obviously, before we even resume class, anybody who's thinking and, you know, that knows that they'll be done by the time we end class, you know, on the 23rd that wants to put in for the SkyWest application will need to do that, because that will close before we even resume class again. So I'll obviously send out some reminder emails there as well, but if that closes on the 9th, then you guys will need to get your applications in before. So you'll need to do that this week.
All right.
Where does everybody else currently stand as far as the ADX goes?
I'm taking mine
Teresa says
Wednesday.
she's taking on the 9th. You're taking yours on Wednesday. Matt?
Yep.
I know you were going to take yours on Tuesday. What happened there, or did you do it, or?
Yeah. I failed by 1%.
So 2 in a row by 1?
No, well, the first one was 68%, and the second one was a 69%.
Oh, wow.
So I have to go take it again.
That's crazy.
That's rough.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been studying too on that, and I don't know.
Have you been following exactly what the Shepherd Air, exactly how it tells you how to do it?
Yeah, so I know that it says to basically it says to view all the right answers only, category by category, in order, and then you know, just keep studying, do that per category, and then.
Well, here's my other question though, Matt. Have you been taking the practice tests and scoring above 90 every time?
I've gotten around 80% on a couple tries, and some I've gotten like 75, some I've gotten 80, and so yeah, just I haven't really reached up to the 90 range.
Okay, so as far as taking the test, what practice test scores do you need before they tell you to go take the test?
Didn't they say it would be like a 90 or higher would be preferable?
Well, I'm asking because I don't have it right off my memory, so I'm wondering if you know. From what I remember, it's 90. So you need to be taking all of your practice tests as long as you're scoring above 90 and you do like several of them and you're getting consistently 90 or higher. That's when they say to go take the ADX.
Okay.
So you got to just make sure you are following the directions. The one thing that I notice about the Shepherd Air program, and this goes for anybody on here that's using it, a lot of people do not trust the direction that it gives you and does not trust the guidelines that it presents as far as the way it tells you need to do it and in what manner and, you know, in what order, and exactly like the biggest fallout that I see is that people will kind of take it upon themselves to reinvent their system, and they don't follow it exactly, precisely 100% as it says. And anybody that has ever, that in my experience, which is a lot of experience now with using Shepherd Air, because people I've been.
Adam, you're cutting off a lot.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, so before it's something that works, and it works method, and it has to just be done exactly as they say to do it. But in my experience, it's pretty foolproof as long as you say.
Are you still there, Adam? Adam, are you there still, or you're? Yeah, there we go. I just jumped offline. Let's see. Anyways, does anybody have any other questions as far as anything goes coming up to these last 3 weeks?
No.
So just to clarify, Garrett, so he was mentioning we have to do something electronic if we're planning on applying by the 8th. That requires an action on my part.
Just applying online.
He said something about some electronic verification
so
this next week.
So the electronic verification that you heard about was the when you pass the ADX, you will send us a picture of your past paper, and then with that we'll do an online verification that will allow us to set you up for your practical and so on. So don't worry about any of that. What you need to do is just get your application in, and then once your application is in, we'll just, as long as you're staying on track with the course, we'll get you your license before the end.
Okay, and just I guess to Adam's original question before he got thrown there, I'm hoping to have that done before Monday night's class. So pushing like heck. So we'll see.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm back on here. I'm on my phone now, so hopefully this works better. Okay, so Greg, you're saying you're hopeful to have it done before we resume class?
That's my hope. I don't want to mix flight planning and intensiveness with this, or I think I'll forget all the prior. So I want to try and get it done.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, the big thing is just that I'm saying with the SkyWest application period, since it closes on the 9th, anybody who is confident that they'll be done or thinks that they will be. I mean, it's one thing if you apply. I mean, it doesn't. If you don't end up getting done in time for the interview, then that's fine. Like, we can let them know, and then they'll withdraw that portion of it, and you can put in on the next one. But you definitely want to have your applications in. If you think there's any glimmer of hope that you'll be done in time because you need to have your license, or I shouldn't say you need to physically have your license, because none of you will physically have your license by the interview, but you need to be signed off, like you passed the practical, and your license is basically en route, by the time that you interview. So they need to know that you are officially a dispatcher, a licensed dispatcher by the time they conduct the interview. So there will be a few weeks in there to kind of play with, because they don't normally do the local interviews until the very end. So, and I'll get the exact dates. I'll talk to Bill. In fact, I'm going to be meeting with him several times while I'm in St. George. So, I'll get kind of all the details on all of that specifically. But if you're confident and feel that you'll be able to, get your, pass the practical, within a week of the class ending, so that obviously means we got to have ADX done and then pass the practical. Then I would, and if you want to apply at SkyWest, then you just go ahead and put your application in now. And, you just have to have it in before the 9th. So, but like I said, if you don't have it done, or if you don't end up getting it done, it's not like it's a huge deal. We'll just let them know, and they'll just undo it on their side, and put it like into the next group for next time. So does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Okay. Because I mean, I'm like those of you like Sheila. I mean, I know you know a few people from the last class. You know, there were a few of them that literally passed their practical the night before they interviewed. Now, obviously, you know, we don't always like it to come down to that, but it has happened, and everything worked out fine, and they even got hired. So, just to kind of put it in perspective, this isn't out of the norm to do it this way. So, any other questions from anybody?
You guys will have a good idea if you think that we're ready. Is that correct?
Yeah, we will. We'll have, I think especially as we go into that last 8th week, we'll have a pretty good idea. Yeah. To where you sit. But the other thing is by then we'll also have a better idea on the official timeline as well. So I'll know the exact day that they're going to do local interviews, and when they do that, you know, then we'll know for sure the day you need to have it passed off by. And if we have more time to work with, I'm just saying that that'll give us a really good idea as to where we stand and how much time we have left to get everybody finished up, you know. And so, yeah, so by that week, we'll definitely have a really good idea.
And is there anything that first night of class that we should have with us? I know Marissa asked about like a computer or, or should we just wait and see what you guys say on that evening?
Yeah, I mean, for the in-person classes, if you have a laptop or a tablet, you'll definitely want it in class.
And I would also recommend, you know, bring pencils, pens, you know, highlighters, just your basic school equipment, maybe a binder to take notes, you know, just your basic school stuff, and you'll be good. Maybe a calculator too, if you don't have one on your computer or your tablet. So.
Yeah, it's always easier just to have a manual calculator as well. So, and then there's an app or two that we use. We can show you guys as well.
All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, I mean,
I just wanted to call out Garrett and both you and Adam for all the help. It's been terrific. I've really enjoyed it so far.
I appreciate that.
Well, good. Yeah, we're hopeful and happy to help even more. I mean, it'll be even better. You know, like I say, when it's all in person, it'll be even far more productive than it has been online. So we want to, you know, also thank all you guys for bearing with us as well. This is, you know, the first time we've done the entire first 6 weeks online like this, and I know that is a chore, especially since, you know, most of you guys, you know, have, you know, full-time working lives and things like that. So patience has definitely been appreciated all around. So from your side and our side. So, but yeah, once we get everybody in class and in person, I think it'll, you know, probably feel a lot better about where you're at and what you know and what you don't know and what you know you'll need to know. So, and yeah, obviously we, you know, look forward to meeting you guys all in person as well. So. Yeah, unless anybody else has any other questions or anything, you know, obviously, you know, still feel free to, you know, email and everything else. And, you know, like I said, take this week off and use whatever advantage, you know, whatever is most advantageous